Have you ever seen a cleaner dashboard than this? And this is what you see when you log into the admin panel. So first of all, let me stop sharing, and I'm going to share my entire screen instead. And before I jump to the admin panel, the first thing I want to show you is I've got many favorite features. I call a lot of features my favorite features. But if I go into the settings on the Google Meet that we're using right now, and if I go to captions, you can see that I'm able to switch on captions. And let's just choose the English language, which is one of 2 languages that I can speak. So now you can see that in real time, it does close captions. Let me zoom in a little bit more. It does close captions in real time. And this is the power of Google's technology. And because Google also has Google Translate, it's not difficult for them to connect Translate to their new closed caption feature. So what I'm also able to do, if I go back into settings and captions, I'm also able to translate the captions. So I'm telling it I'm speaking English in the meeting, and I would like to translate this to Portuguese. And then all of a sudden, my English speech becomes Portuguese, which I cannot confirm because I cannot speak Portuguese. I can choose Chinese simplified as well, and all of a sudden the captions will be in Chinese. So across Africa, where we've got such a diverse population and languages and cultures, I believe it's more French, Portuguese, Spanish, English, and then a lot of the Tswana, Sotho, and I can't go into all the details, but there are many, many different cultures and language in Africa. And what we hope to see over time is that all those languages features here in the translate feature. Okay, so I'm going to switch off closed captions. I'm already sharing my entire screen, and I'm going to access the admin panel. And another thing to bear in mind, if you're running Google Workspace correctly, the way you should be running Google Workspace, you're not managing infrastructure. What you're doing really is you're configuring a control panel. And this is the control panel. Candace will let me know if I need to zoom in more. I'm going to put you guys on another screen as well. And then I just need my notes of what I need to demo. Otherwise, I go down rabbit holes. But the very first thing I want to show you is the Meet Quality tool. So I can search for the setting. I find it immediately. Or I can expand apps, and then go to my Google Workspace apps. And these are the core services: Calendar, Search, Currents, Docs and Drive, Gmail. I'm going to go down to Google Meet, and I want to access the Meet Quality tool. So because we're using Google Meet, which is their video calling technology, right at the bottom, I've got the Meet Quality tool. So perhaps I want to do some troubleshooting. Perhaps my executive is telling me that whenever I access Google Meet from home, I have a poor experience. I can't hear the other people. I get kicked out. So what you want to do really is you want to, so these are a list of all the Google Meets inside the DigiCloud Africa domain that has happened. We can expand this to the last 50, and you can see there's just a untold amount of video calls that we live on a daily basis. But on any one of these, let's see where there's a large number of participants. So there were 6 participants on this one. I can click into that meeting. I can see who the participants were on that meeting. I can see at what time of the meeting they joined. So all sorts of very useful statistics on meeting for troubleshooting or whatever you might want to use this for. So I can see here they joined from an actual laptop, not from a mobile device. I can see here who joined from a mobile device. I can see where they muted and unmuted themselves, useful statistics. On the activity, I can see who was screen sharing in that meeting. I can see the network and the system utilization on each individual device. So here's me. I joined a minute early. I like to be a minute early at the very least. Joined for 29 minutes. I joined from Cape Town. And this is the protocol used. I didn't experience any network congestion, and there was a 24 millisecond delay and 3 milliseconds of jitter on average. So you can see really useful stuff. 19% CPU usage. I should get that lower. I need a new CPU. And then you can see on the audio side of things, just some more metrics, more information, all very useful for troubleshooting. On the video side of things, you can see a lot of information as well, screen sharing. So you can see how this is absolutely a great tool for when you need to assist one of your users, or especially one of your executives that's maybe not having an optimal experience. Maybe you surface that from home, they always have a network issue. Maybe you can see their CPU utilization is 90% and their machine is just overburdened with trying to facilitate a video call. Maybe they need a new machine. Okay, next up, what I want to focus on is the reporting side of things. So I'm just going to expand reporting, and we're going to visit this section pretty soon, the audit and investigation. That's a fun section. But just on the report side, maybe you just want to see a aggregate report on all your users, similar to the security dashboard. Kind of, if you just want to scroll through something in the morning, just make sure that everything is still fine. So I'm going to go through to the user reports, and I want to see the apps usage. Which of my users are using which one of the apps, and what types of metrics can I get from it? So I can see a list of all the users. I can see how much storage they're using in Gmail, how much storage they're using in Drive, Photos, the total number of storage. So we can see this is all in megabytes. So I just want to see that I'm not lagging too much behind. So that's like, what is that? 10,000, so that's 10 gig. So I've got a couple of people who beats me on the mail storage, but you're going to struggle to beat me on drive storage. I'm using 1.2 terabytes of drive storage. Always just need to be first. Candace is second, so a close second. Candace, you need to do better there. But if you also scroll from side to side, what we're interested in seeing is everything else as well. So it's not just storage used, but the various different products as well. Total emails sent, emails received, when last was IMAP used. These are all the iPhone users using the IMAP protocol. When last POP was used, we don't use POP. This is not the 90s. When last the web browser was used, and this should be virtually everyone who's an active account, because we just access Google Workspace through the web browser. There's some Drive activity as well, files added, other file types. It shows you files deleted. So a lot of useful information just under the apps usage, gives you something to scroll through. And what you can also do is you can either download this, or there's a free Google API that you can connect to this, and you can automate pulling a report into a Google spreadsheet, which is not very difficult to do. So you can automate these reporting into a sheet and share it with people at the start of every day or the start of every week, whatever you prefer. On the security side of things, that's obviously going to have a lot of password authentication, two-step verification, etc. The only reason I don't have two-step verification enrolled is because I'm testing something, but two-step verification for me will be switched on pretty soon. You can see who's the administrators, who's got particular rights. Perhaps they don't need any longer. I can see Candace is an administrator, but my boss and my other boss and me, we are the only super administrators that can do everything and administer this Google Workspace control panel. And you also have fine granular administrative roles that you can get into, but I feel like I'm going down a rabbit hole. So what I really want to get you is, I want to get you the security center. So either I can access it through the audit and investigation section, and you can see all the different logs that exist, segregated quite nicely. Admin logs, calendar logs, there's user logs, there's drive logs, LDAP sync logs, so all sorts of log events. I've got access to those. The other way of accessing it is by expanding security. And if I expand the security center, remember I said the security center isn't one thing on its own, it's a collection of things. And let's start with the security health page, where there's a lot of machine learning running in the background, and Google surfaces certain things that you should perhaps, settings you should reconfigure or tighten up. But basically, if I look at okay, I didn't want to click on that one. Access to using calendar on the web when offline. So what's the recommendation? The recommendation is to use the risk of data leaks from public or shared computers. You can restrict offline access per organizational unit, or you can disable it for the domain in its entirety. So that's what they recommend. I can click on it. It's going to take me straight to the setting, and it'll help me configure that, which is really simple and easy to do. You can see some other settings that we have configured. So we've included the spam header and default routing rules that we have defined, and this reduces the risk of spoofing and phishing, or phishing or whaling attempts. It's kind of the same thing. Another setting is approved senders without authentication. If we add anyone to the approved senders list, which we don't, then this reduces the risk of spoofing or phishing if you've got if you don't disable the authentication for those approved senders. Otherwise, anyone can just pretend to be that approved sender that you've added to the list. So a good practice as well. Comprehensive mail storage. We've got comprehensive mail storage switched on. So every email sent and received, whether it's through a Gmail account or through a third-party SMTP relay like an ERP system or a CRM, sending out notifications on behalf of our users. Those emails goes and sits in mailboxes where we point them to, and it's also stored in Google Vault, which we don't have time to go into, but Google Vault archives a copy of all sent and all received emails on your domain forever. And Google defines forever as 99 years. So for 99 years, you can hang on to all of your emails for compliance reasons. So that's the security health page in a nutshell. It gives you a lot of recommendations. There's multiple pages of settings to click through, but this is also where a partner can step in and help you with all these configurations and best practices that they've learned over the decades. Next, let's jump into the dashboard. Lots of pretty charts. So you can see here, I can look at authentication. I can look at external drive file shares, custom settings for messages over time, encryption, delivery, spam filters, user reports, spoofing, compromised devices, suspicious device activities, OAuth grant activities where third-party application gets access to my users' data like their contacts or their drive files or their emails, failed device password attempts, etc. So even DLP events. I wish I had time to go into DLP with you guys. But let's maybe focus on a very generic report like spam filtering over time. It generally is something that your email security team is very interested in. We're not interested in all the emails going into inboxes. We trust those. We're interested in the emails going into the spam folders. Let's maybe look at the last month worth of emails. So I can see where there are, and let's untick that one again. There we go. So I can see when we are receiving a lot of spam. I can drill into who is sending us a lot of spam. I can click into any one of these emails. Now, if I do uncover something in the morning that maybe I want to drill down into, then this little magnifying glass, that is how I take this particular line item, drop it into the investigation center, and actually physically start looking at it. So any of these emails that's been marked as spam, let's just choose a random one. Let's pretend like I didn't practice this beforehand. So I can drill into that email, and it's taking all the particular parameters, the data ranges I had, the particular event which was received, the spam classification for which there are 3 unique values kind of combined into one, and then the subject line. So what I'm looking at is I'm looking at a result of that one particular spam message. And I want to investigate this. I want to see, was it spam? Was it not spam? And immediately it shows me the email headers. It also shows me these email headers, which are the actual email headers that you have to read from bottom to front, from bottom to top. And this can get complicated, but this is a nice highlight of the email headers. And here at the bottom, the routes that it followed. So I can see here, it failed SPF. And because it failed SPF and it has no DKIM and it has no DMARC, the receiving mail server doesn't really have an option but to go like, I don't trust this message, I'm going to drop it into spam. And I'm happy with this. That's exactly how this should have gone. Because either this is a spam message or this particular domain needs to fix their SPF records. I could also read the message if I want to, but for that I need, as a super administrator, to enter a business justification need. So I need to tell the audit logs why I am wanting to read the contents of this email, which again forms part of the admin audit logs showing Nick viewed someone's particular email. It's not just an open system where administrators can do whatever they like. So I type in a business justification reason, I click confirm, and then I can actually see the contents of the message as well. And what we've done is we've actually moved from the dashboard into the investigation tool. But if I just want to access the investigation tool from scratch, this is what I can do. Just click the investigation tool, and it's just going to load a blank investigation. And you can start any investigation from scratch. But every time you do, it also again forms